Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on which part of the universe you're at. I'm Jackson Tan, your coach of the month of March, part of Life Coach University 365 Days Paid Forward Talks. We call it PIF Talks. The topic of March is me, myself, and I. Well, actually, it's you, yourself, and you. Quick logistics. Any questions during the session, please type them into the Q&A box. Any comments, insights, you can type it into the chat. I'm Jackson Tan, an entrepreneur, a wellness advocate, and I coach successful executives to reconnect with themselves. And that leads to rejuvenation and clarity so clear they will enable them to successfully mount their next breakthrough, whether it is in their career, business, or life itself. For those who have joined us for the past 3 days, it is day 4 of March. If you have found any value or discovered any insights, please let us know if you have taken any action. Jim Quick, the brain coach, said, if you have learned something new and if you have acquired new knowledge, 80% of those new knowledge will be gone if you do not take action within 48 hours. So please allow me to share with you a story. I heard of this young boy, primary 4, one morning went to school happily, started school, and during math class, he pooped in his pants. He was too embarrassed about it and just hoped and prayed that nobody would notice. Could you imagine what was going through this poor boy's mind? Did anything remotely close like that happen to you before? Well, the teacher ultimately found out, obviously, went on to resolve the matter. The poor boy was laughed at, and all he wanted to do was really to bury himself into the ground. He hoped that the ground would open up and eat him up. That was definitely a very traumatic experience. If it was you, how would you feel? Why was there fear of embarrassment? Where do you think that fear of embarrassment come from? And in primary 6, that same boy had a history class. The history teacher will come in and make everyone stand on their feet. He would start asking questions. And for those who answer them correctly, they get to sit down. For those who answer it wrongly, they get to be promoted and elevated to standing on their chair. And if they get it wrong again, they will move up from the chair to be standing on top of the desk. So, what do you think the teacher was trying to do? I think the teacher was trying to scare the children into studying and to make sure that they prepare way in advance for his class. I would call this a pure bully. This same boy who pooped in his pants, answered it wrongly, went from the ground onto the chair and onto the table. He tried, and everyone were trying to help him, but this poor boy was left standing on top of the world all alone. But emotionally, he was in hell. That poor boy was me. So what happened next? I could not remember. Did you have experiences like this when you were growing up that were etched in your mind forever? What negative effects did that have on you? Well, obviously for me, studying was never fun. And those experiences in history class would have translated into the other subjects, obviously. Then the school did another crazy thing. They introduced Chinese language when we were in primary 6. After 6 years of education, not studying Chinese at all, they decided to introduce Chinese language. I guess that was the trend at the time. Maybe they knew that China was going to be a superpower. Of course, I struggled. Everyone struggled, maybe, and failed their exams. The impression that was caused in my mind is education equals pain and embarrassment. When I failed my Chinese language, it drove me to even fake the results when the opportunity came by. Well, I hope my parents are not listening because they do not know about this story. I erased that failed marks, converted it to something, a pass, had my parents sign the report card, erased it again, change it back to the original score, and submit it back to the school. All this to basically cover up the fact that I failed so that I do not get into trouble at home, because I saw my elder brother being admonished for poor results. But finally, in the final year of primary school, I failed my first language. That was Malay language. And in Malaysia, if you failed your Malay language, it was practical, not feasible for you to continue your education there anymore. These conditions were the perfect storm in my life at that young age. It would have potentially destroyed every inch of interest, confidence, or anything else that would have helped me move ahead. My dad then said, let's try Singapore, I was like, okay. We changed from Malay being the first language to doing English as the first language. And I struggled as well during secondary school. And in secondary school, because we were staying in Malaysia, we have to literally go cross-country across the bridge into Singapore for education. Every morning, I went over to Singapore for education. In the evening or late afternoon, I came back. Because my English language was so poor, I was demoted to worst of class in the second year. That embarrassment continued. But luckily for me, I fought back. I picked up whatever slack there was and really fought to get myself back up. I wonder, where did the motivation come from? As I reflect and think back, I think I did it just to avoid embarrassment. The embarrassment that I've suffered during the early days were so bad that I fought back so that I can avoid them again. I think I also wanted to do all this to make my parents proud. I did it so that people could not beat me or to be better than me. It was pure ego. But I keep wondering now as I recall, where did they come from? Could it be because I was so embarrassed and laughed at that my ego was hurt that now I'm doing everything to protect my ego? So when the experiences created a deep-seated unhappiness in me, I would do everything to avoid that. Think about some of those incidents that happen in your life that might have caused how you are behaving nowadays. I did everything for everyone, but not for myself. I needed assurance. I needed love. I needed attention from everyone else. I was very needy. So the program that was running inside my subconscious continued to play out in the way I behave. And as I realized this, I have made every conscious effort to ensure that I continue to upgrade or delete the old programs. Just like in your computer, if you were still to be running Microsoft 6, it will not happen because the environment today needed Microsoft 11 or 12 or whatever it is right now. So if the story resonates with you, maybe it's a good time for you to reflect on the things that happened to you in the past that could have an effect on you that you don't realize. And only when you realize can you make an effort to change. Okay, I will now take some questions. Please let me see if we have a question. Okay, this is not a question. Someone saying that we took action. I woke up this morning and shouted good morning to myself. It felt so good. Thank you. There's a question here. So what would you have changed if you went back in time? If I went back in time, being a young child, I don't think I would have done anything different, because when you're young, you're very dependent on the people around you to show you the way. You are very dependent, and you behave and picked up based on what you observe and what you hear. So I don't think there was anything that I would have done. But knowing this, what I would have done right now as a parent would be very different. Knowing what I know now, if I were to turn back the clock, I would behave very differently as a parent. All right. So there's another question. What did you think you did wrong in the past? What did you learn from those mistakes? So if it's about me being young, I don't think the young child did anything wrong. If any, I think only the parents or the guardians could have created a different environment or different experience for the young children. That's why I say, if I were to turn back the clock, if I'm young, I don't think there will be anything that I can do differently. But if I turn back the clock and I have my child right now, just newborn, I would have done it differently. So there's another question. So this ego thing is good and bad, it seems, right? So sometimes ego works for you, sometimes ego works against you. So how do we balance it in bringing up our kids in this aspect? There is really no right or wrong, in my opinion. And whatever we do in life, we take responsibilities for our actions, hence the result. For example, myself and my wife brings up our children right now. We have a 12, 14, and 16 in a different way, generally speaking, relative to many of our friends and our cohorts. There are many people who believe that what we are doing is wrong, but we feel strongly that we would like our children to experience different things. And what I have learned and I've reflected right now makes me want to create a different environment for my children, right? So when it comes to balancing, I think what you think up here intellectually, you need to reflect it and feel. How does that feel? What is the energy like? And when these two, the intellect and the heart, feels aligned, that I think would be best for you at that point in time. Okay, I will stop taking questions right now and I will move on. So I will move on to Jackson Tan's tip of the day. So you have woken up, you have said good morning to yourself, you have not touched your phone while you're still in bed and have resisted from touching your phone. Let's practice gratitude. I shared with you that when you woke up in the morning, about 150,000 people didn't, because yesterday was their last day. So pay gratitude to that to begin with. Next, pay gratitude to your parents who have worked their ass off and did everything possible to bring you up to where you are today. Pay gratitude to your spouses who have supported you, your family members, your mentors, your friends, and everyone who are there for you. Pay gratitude and count your blessing. Pay gratitude to the world for allowing you to live in such a conducive environment. Pay gratitude to your body and mind, who has been working relentlessly without complaint to keep you going. Right? So these are the things that you can do in the morning, and it will make you start your day feeling happy, feeling that you have enough, feeling full, feeling joyful. So this is the other tip that you can practice starting tomorrow. Okay, so I would like to thank all of you for joining me. It's my pleasure to have you. I'm Jackson Tan, Coach of the Month for March, part of Life Coach University's 365 Days Paid Forward Talks. If you have picked up anything valuable, please go ahead and do something good to pay it forward. So see you tomorrow, same time, same link. Goodbye.